Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another Historical Humans Heritage. And today we are going to our neighbors to the south. We are visiting the historic center of Oaxaca and the archaeological site of Monte Albán. So, a couple of real interesting sites and centers that are important to the history and heritage of Mexico.
Yeah, very important indeed. As these sites have been inhabited for a period of 1,500 years by the Olmecs, the Zapotecs, and the Mixtecs, all of whom I believe are do predate the Aztec Empire in some way or form.
Yeah, a lot of ways they are considered proto-Aztec because a lot of inspiration behind Aztec culture actually originated in the Oaxaca River Valley, and it was effectively one of the main breadbaskets for Tenochtitlan, the main city of the Aztecs.
And Yeah, and it's very impressive too, given how far south Oaxaca is from Tenochtitlan, which is now Mexico City. Um,
Yeah, it is towards the southern part of the country.
yeah, it's very far off. Um, I don't have the exact measurement, which is like, yeah, that looks far. That's like most of the most of the country. Um, but the sites at Monte Alban themselves were carved out of the mountain, which sort of creates this sacred topography within the mountain structure as the construction of both public works like dams and temples out of nature themselves. Really, imbues the mountain with a lot of cultural and spiritual significance.
Yeah, not just built it out of the mountain, they flattened the top of the mountain and created this platform that they built the city on, and then they used the parts of
Yeah,
the rock
yeah,
itself. And I did look it up. It is about 300 miles as the crow flies.
yeah. Let's hope we don't have one of those in our tails. But yeah, so yeah, they literally carved it out of the mountain. They didn't build on the mountain. They built with the mountain.
And it's honestly
But
just really incredible. The stonemasonry required, the fact that you see early evidence of like bulb courts in the city. Um,
yeah, this is like dwarven mythical stonecraft level of level of just architectural bullshit we have going on here with just how much they managed to accomplish.
well, and the interesting thing too is the site was constantly revisited and re-inhabited.
Yeah, yeah, we have three distinct cultures, all of which arrive at this place or emerge in and around this place and say, let's do more with that. It's just you do love to see it. And of course, there is also the city of Oaxaca itself is included in this UNESCO entry as the historic center of Oaxaca is your quintessential example of the Spanish colonial town. Yeah, and that whole version of urban design.
Well, and it was one of the first towns laid out in New Spain during the 16th century, and it ended up being a grid system, a square block system that the Spaniards brought with them to Mexico and to New Spain. So Oaxaca has this really interesting mix and dichotomy between their pre-Columbian history with Monte Alban that it represents over 1,000 years of inhabitants and influence over this region of the world. But then also once the Spaniards came in and brought with them their culture, it became a really prominent colonial town, a 16th century colonial town at that.
Yeah, it's Oaxaca. It's the blueprint for every town and city the Spanish built, from basically California to Argentina. It's it's the baseline,
God, they would have
and
really liked
God,
Minecraft.
yeah, it's like
Everything is blocks.
yeah, it is. it's definitely something. I'm trying not to get mad at it because just I deal with a lot of these sort of
Yeah.
towns and
Yeah.
systems. It's just like I hate everything you represent, but at the same time, you did it so well.
You did bad things so well. Um,
Yeah.
One of the things that was the one of the deciding factors as to why we went for this site specifically, though, is because of the level of protections that are placed upon it. I mean, it's one thing to have one of these sites. To have so many of them in such a dense area leads to a lot of stuff needing to be protected. And the first step of that was when the federal government of Mexico published in the official journal of the Federation the decree that historic monument zone of the city of Oaxaca, subject to the conditions set by federal law on monuments and archaeological areas and historic art. Basically, the enforcement of these legal provisions corresponds to the National Institute, the INAH, the institute we talk about a lot.
Yes. Um, and to give you an idea of how much is a lot of sites in one area, according to the UNESCO list, there are 200 pre-Hispanic archaeological sites worthy of inclusion in this network.
Basically, the whole river valley, the entire river valley. Anywhere you
It
stick a shovel in, you'll find
it is
something.
it is the mountain and all you can see from it, Zimba.
Basically, is all the archaeology zone.
Yeah.
Now, I actually have a small personal tie to Monte Albán.
Oh, here we go. This will be
Um,
good.
During my undergrad, the anthropology department had moved buildings, and in doing so, we had to move a lot of collections around. Well, there were a number of orphaned collections, one of which was a box of pottery sherds from Monte Albán. So one of the first archaeological projects that I had assisted in was classification, organization, and long-term storage of thousands of pieces of pottery from this site, which is really interesting. We talk about the three different occupational periods. All three have their own distinctive pottery, and all three are different. Oh, yeah, it's interesting though. The history of the site, I think, would make for a very interesting further deep dive. I mean, we're talking briefly about it, but like the Mixtecs, the Zapotecs, the Oaxacans, like this area was huge importance, and we're not even talking about the archaeology site that has the ball court, that has temples, that has all the ceremonial stuff you expect to find in these pre-Columbian civilizations.
There's a lot. Like if we go just to the pictures, you can see the temples, the historic Spanish churches, all those main sites. But like you also see just on the second page, there's this stone stele that's out there, and it's like there's a site right
Yeah.
there. There's a lot of things scattered on this mountain, and it's all linked together. And if there was ever an argument for landscape archaeology, it would be this site. The idea that everything you can see from one point to another is connected.
And now that Column has brought up archaeological theory, I'm going to leave it right there. I think that's a perfect point for us to lead off. If you agree with landscape archaeology, let us know down below. If you got no clue what it is, let us know. And maybe we could do a video discussing that, which will include a lot of fireworks. Maybe we could talk about the Shatter Zone. But thank you guys for watching. We'll see you in the next video.